what we're going to go through today is basically every last single connection type that rigging has, minus a handful. So we're going to take a look at all these different ways to make things move today. Now, with that said, I am the type of person who feels math is taught wrong in school, and this feels like math to me. I'm showing you how to solve for X, how to solve for Y, but I'm not showing you in context. So I have two other files that I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to show you guys the practical application of each of these on this little character rig. In reality, I'm not even going to show you guys the practical application of all of them on this rig because there are some things that I've never used. So I'll be transparent about that, and I'll talk a bit about that when we get there. It's good to know. So I'm not going to say you guys don't need to know it. The first step of being able to do anything is awareness. So it is valuable you're aware of it. But I will kind of give you guys, heads up that some of these things just aren't used. And then finally here, I have a complete built rig that I will show you guys kind of the final function of on some of the things that I'm not necessarily going to be able to apply here manually. So that's going to be what we're going to tackle today. So let's get started and kind of dive in with our first one here, which is going to talk a bit about parenting. And I think it's hilarious we get to talk about parenting in this field because it's a completely different context than what parenting actually is. So if you guys remember, parenting is the formation of essentially a hierarchy. It's the most simple way to do it. And the way I explained it is the use of groups inside of Maya. Groups form a hierarchy. Whatever's in the group goes underneath it. This is where, our stuff goes. And basically what it allows to happen is when this group moves, this stuff moves, but more importantly, the child and the parent remain independent. So what that means is that this stuff can still move within the context of the group. Now, I have a little folder here called parenting, and I'm going to show you guys a couple different ways we can parent so you guys are familiar with most of them. When you have something very simple like this, you can just use the outliner and you can middle mouse button drag underneath things. So for example, let's say I wanted the cone to be under the cube. I wanted the cube to move, and when it moves, the cone moves. If I go ahead and select the cone here and just middle mouse drag hover to where there's a box around the cube and release, that will parent. And what you'll see now is this is parented under the master group parenting, but we also have the cube here, and underneath that's the cone. And just like I showed, the cube now controls the cone, but the unique aspect of parenting is that the cone maintains the ability to move independently, and the cube can move and the cone can move. It kind of carries it along with it. Now, hopefully I froze these transforms and they return to the same spot. Otherwise, this is going to get messy. Moment of truth. Cool. One of the things I didn't talk about is unparenting. Now, how do you make them divorce, so to speak, or orphan? I don't know the term here. The way you can do that, simplest, is with the hotkey Shift P, but you can also try fighting the middle mouse drag method. So you can unparent manually by coming over here to the cone and trying to drag it to like one of these cracks in between and releasing, and that will also unparent. So that's kind of the manual way. Touching base on the hotkeys, the one I showed you guys the other day, there's the hotkey setup where you do child parent P. So child plus parent plus P. So first selection is the child, second selection is the parent, and then finally you press P and that does parenting. So let's say we want to do the same thing. We wanted the cone here to be a child of the cube. We could select the cone, shift select the cube, and hit P, and you'll see that will parent. This is going to be the way that I will be parenting, just so you guys know. It's the fastest way, most efficient way, doesn't really require the user interface, but it does require a bit of confidence in what you were doing. So I do like to show the middle mouse drag method. There's one other way I'm going to show you guys that I also use a lot, but you'll see it's now parented. Now, I already mentioned this. If you want to unparent, you simply select the object you want to remove from the hierarchy and hit P, Shift P, excuse me. So if I wanted to remove the cone, for example, if I select it and hit Shift P, it's going to unparent. And you'll see it's now outside of here. Notice it just completely removed itself from the parenting hierarchy altogether. That's going to get out of there. Now, I mentioned I use the P hotkey a lot. That's for things I can see. When I can't see things, for example, I can't see the group here, I will use the middle mouse drag method. So those are two of the ways that we can do parenting. There's a way up here through the mysterious menus, but that's just where I don't go. Menus are gross. Don't go there. You guys can probably look it up if you really want to know. Why, I don't know, but hey. There is one thing I do want to show you guys, though, which is a special menu. It's underneath here in the windows, and it's something called the, I'm probably going to spell this wrong, hypergraph hierarchy. I'm not even going to try and write it out. It's hypergraph hierarchy. If you come in here to Windows and you come into the general editors here, it's going to be located right here. Now, what the hypergraph hierarchy is a outliner that is horizontal. That was a not very elegant way of saying it, but that's essentially what it is. So when you click on the hypergraph hierarchy here, you get this screen, which is really big. But I have two monitors. For those of you who have two monitors, usually how I work with rigging is this bad boy is sitting over on my other monitor over here. Now I'm going to feel very claustrophobic, like I'm sitting in a airplane seat having it on screen here. But what this is essentially showing us is just another version of our outliner. Notice, however, it's just showing us the nodes within our scene. All I see here is my groups and my cubes. I'm not seeing things like the cameras or anything like that. You can bring that kind of stuff in here, don't need to. The other thing I want to mention is there is a whole bunch of bells and whistles up here that we just don't need. In other words, this can do stuff, but you rarely use it. There may be a situation where I show you guys using this. I really don't use them very often. Mainly, it's just nice to have this view. This view is just nice. It's easy to see. Now, why is this view nice? It's a little bit more intuitive. So this is our parenting cube here. You can see in here, I can just middle mouse click and move things around. Where that did is it put them all the way back here. But this is the other way you can do parenting. You can do it through this screen. And you can use either the hotkey or middle mouse drag. So for example, I could middle mouse drag this cube on top of parenting here. I could go ahead and select the cone here, shift select parenting and hit P. If I wanted to put the cone under the cube, I could shift select that and hit P. All right. And those are all different ways we could get that set up and parent it. So pretty cool, and that's parenting. So parenting is going to be one of the most important skills that you end up developing as you work on rigging, and it's one of the fundamental tools to kind of get things up and running.